You're welcome.
I'm going to call to order the Thursday, May 12, 2022, North Virginia Transportation Authority business meeting. We are going to conduct this meeting in person and live stream. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes, Chair Randall,
I am present.
Councilmember Snyder,
Present.
No one is present now.
Chair McKay,
Here.
Chair Wheeler,
Present.
Board Chair Crystal,
Here.
Mayor Wilson.
I don't know what to do. I mean, normally I do whatever Katie does. Say here, right?
Mayor Davis Young. Mayor Davis Younger.
Present.
Mayor Rischel.
Here.
Mayor Meyer. Senator Boysko.
Here.
Delegate LaRock.
He is left.
Mr. Fidel. Ms. Hines.
Here.
Mr. Cole.
Here.
Mayor Wood.
Here.
Mr. Lynch.
Present.
And Mr. Horsey.
Here.
Chair Wheeler, Chair Randall, we do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Authority members, I'd like to take a moment of personal privilege and recognize Bob Brown, who works for Loudoun County Department of Transportation, DTCI infrastructure. This will be Bob's last MBTA meeting. I know. As of yesterday, he has resigned, and I want to just take a retire.
I need to retire.
I want to say the first time I ever saw Bob is I won my election. I was very, very new. I walked into this room. I had no idea what I was doing or what was going on. And it happened to be the day that we were voting on the president. So I walked in and I was like, what's happening? And so Bob and Penny took me aside and in like 10 minutes, like walked me through everything. And as I sat over there and both were coming up, Bob was going. So I joked that Chair Brown was the first person there for that meeting. He is incredibly knowledgeable, but he's also kind and competent, and we are going to miss him in Loudoun so much. And we're going to miss you on the authority so much. And thank you for all that you've done. You are just a remarkable person. I say he's going to be bored in 3 months and be back. But for now, we're going to miss you very much. Thank you, Bob. Authority members, the first we're going to do is approve the meeting notes of the April 21st, 2022 minutes. I'm assuming everyone had a chance to look over those minutes. If so, are there any?
Second.
Was approved by Mrs. Wow, that was fast. By Ms. Crystal, second. You really do what she said. Look at that. By Mr. Wilson. Discussion on that motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion will pass unanimously. The next thing is the finance meeting just met, and we have 4 items, but the first 3 of these items are going to, I'm going to let Mayor Rischel introduce them, and then Mr. Lungi speak if you'd like to, and have Mayor Rischel make the motions as finance chair. So Mayor Rischel, I will turn it over to you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. The next 2 action items, 4 and 5, are closely related. The Finance Committee reviewed these earlier this evening and is recommending authority approval of both. I'll provide a brief recap and then turn it over to Mr. Longy for additional details. The first action item is an update to the authority's revenue projections. This update proposes revising projections for FY23 through FY25. It also establishes new projections for FY26 and 27. The FY26-27 projections are important to the development of the proposed funding level for projects that are under consideration for authority approval as part of the secure program update, usually referred to as PACO. These are the projects that were part of tonight's public hearing. So the Finance Committee is recommending an FY26-27 PACO amount of a little over $626 million. Chair Randall, I would now like to ask Mr. Longi to provide added details for these two action items in order.
Longi, if you would, please.
Thank you. For the revenue projection, the table is on the first page of the staff report. I do want to note that total on the table is both the 30 and the 70. This is the total revenue. So there'll be a 30-70 split on this. To briefly go through the revenues, regional sales tax, I think everybody knows that this has been very robust. The tax on internet sales came in at just the right time to counteract what little, quite frankly, negative impact we saw on sales tax from the pandemic. The pandemic was actually kind of a sales tax boost. We now look at internet sales tax as being part of the baseline for the sales tax revenue estimate. Grantor's tax likewise is also showing some robust increases. In fiscal 21, when it was reestablished for the authority, it was established at a lower rate up until May for the transactions that occurred in May. We are now at the full 10 cents per $100 of value on deeds and documents recorded at the courthouse. Grantor's tax relies on two principal things. One is good transaction numbers and good sales value or property values. And we're in an environment where we're seeing both. So those numbers are heading up. The Northern Virginia Transportation Transfer is the flat $20 million. As I noted with the Finance Committee, if we look at an 8.3% CPI, that $20 million now has only the purchasing power of $18.3 million. Because inflation will eat away at the purchasing power. It won't change the number, but you just won't get as much for that number. Finally, the Interstate Operations Enhancement Program, not a title we picked, by the way, that is the reconstitution of the I-81 money. The Commonwealth saw that the I-81 money was not going to hit the targets that they had established and had told us. And so they reconstituted that. And it's showing at around $20 million a year. That is an estimate that we take from VDOT. We don't have an independent way of making that estimate. With that, there'll be some additional economic impacts that are embedded in the PAYGO process, which is the next item. But with that, those are our revenue estimates for the periods stated, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Longi or Mr. Shaw?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just curious because these say revised. Was it a delta up or a delta down?
It was up.
It was up. And so does that mean we have, so all of that plus up is part of what was taken into account for the number we're going to see in the next item?
And I'll address, without trying to go into too much accountancy, I will address how that money kind of folds over when we discuss PAYGO.
Okay, but it's over. It's part of it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Finance representative to ask for questions for finance, so we're good. Seeing none, Ms. Fisher, would you like to make two separate motions?
Yes, Madam Chair. In seriatim?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. The first one is I move the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority adoption of the FY 2023 to FY 2027 revenue projections as presented in attachment A.
Second.
Questions made, second by Mr. McKay, discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion will pass unanimously. Ms. Bishop?
Okay. I move the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority adoption of the PAYGO funding recommendation detailed in Table 1.
Second.
Motion made, again, second by Chairman McKay, discussion on that motion. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion will pass unanimously. We will now go to item number 6. Ms. Bishop?
Yes, ma'am. The Finance Committee, in its role as the authority's audit committee, discussed options for the procurement of financial statement audit services. This was discussed across 2 meetings. Staff followed committee direction, and as a result, we can continue our successful relationship with PD mayors. as our independent auditor. This continuation will allow a faster implementation of 2 new initiatives approved by the authority last month in the FY23 operating budget. And those 2 initiatives are implementation of annual duplicate reimbursement detection audits and preparation for the authority to become a qualified recipient of federal funds. So at this point, I'd like to ask Mr. Longy to assist with any questions.
Mr. Lungi.
The only thing that I would add to that is by doing the continuation, by riding on VRE's contract with PB Mayors, we actually can speed implementation of those 2 initiatives that Mayor Rochelle mentioned by about 6 to 8 months.
Yes, ma'am.
So I really enjoyed working with community members of VRE and NBTC. I wonder, is there any caution or concern about all of us using the same auditor in the regional transportation space? Would there be any aspiration? I'm imagining, for example, if something was wrong with a VRE project that the auditor missed, it's then the same auditor, the 2 parent entities that might miss it, and then a major funder of VRE would potentially miss that too. Or is it because it's so internal to our books that it's unlikely to have any kind of implication like that?
Well, frankly, typically the opposite concern occurs, whereas an audit firm would see something in one of the other entities that may be closely related, and will then carry those questions over to every other entity.
Okay.
A case in point would be PB Mayors will be taking a very strong look at our investment portfolio, our investment practices. If you look at an operating budget of 3.8 million, and you're running an investment portfolio of 1.3 billion, and returning a revenue line of 25 million, they'll spend a good amount of time there. If they pick up something, because they also audit Fairfax Water, and this is purely hypothetical. I want to make clear I'm not saying anything negative about Fairfax Water, but if they were to, or I'll just say another client, if they were to discover something in the management of that investment portfolio, they would then look to their other clients that have significant portfolios, and we all operate under the same state law. And they would take that lesson learned and investigate the same thing at their other clients.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Any other questions? Ms. Fisher, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, ma'am. I move the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority approval to review the financial statement audit service agreement with PB Mayors LLP for 3 base years, fiscal years 2022 through 2024, with options to extend for up to 4 additional years in 2-year increments.
Second. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion will pass unanimously. Number 7, I'm going to go to Ms. Beckman, but then I'm going to go for a motion. I'm going to go to Chair Wheeler. Beckman.
Madam Chair, we have received requests from Prince William County and PRTC to endorse some of their federal funding applications. With Prince William County, they're seeking 2 funding sources: the Mega Grant Program and the Infra Grant Program for the Route 23 Interstate 95 corridor improvements. And for PRTC, they're actually looking to fund some low emission, zero emission buses through the low-no grant program. And the buses at the United States Federal Transit Administration buses and bus facilities competitive grant program. So we have both of those requests.
Any questions before we go to Ms. Chair Wheeler to make a motion? Seeing none, Chair Wheeler.
I'd like to move the authority approval of letters of endorsement for Prince William County FY 2022 multimodal project discretionary grant program application and PRTC's low emissions and bus facilities application.
Second.
Motion made, seconded by Ms. Davis Younger. Absolutely, Mayor Davis Younger. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion was passed unanimously. Item number 8, there is no governance personnel committee report at this time. We are hoping that the General Assembly has the budget. The budgets before the end of June. And that's the report. Please pass a budget. We would go to the reports. Ms. Richard, did you have any reports saying that the whole agenda was you?
The finance committee work in May consisted of 3 action items that were already covered this evening. Mr. Long, do you have anything to add?
There's nothing significant to add to the staff reports. The investment portfolio is going very well. The revenues are going exceptionally well, and the operating budget is well within.
Wonderful. I do not believe for numbers 10 and 11, I'm 10 and 11, I believe the information is in the package for it to be read, unless anyone would like to have any questions about those 2 items. The tech of the PCA or the tech advisory committee report. Ms. Hines, did you?
No, sorry, that was.
Okay, here we are. Okay. All right. I will go to Ms. Backman if she has a chief executive officer report.
Well, Madam Chair, my report is in your packet, but I would like to introduce the authority to one of our new planners. Ian Newman is in the back. He comes from Atlanta, so we are proud to have him. And he's jumped full steam and head first, so I'm glad that he's here. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Backman, you actually have staff with more other this afternoon.
Yeah, this wasn't a part of what you approved last month. This position wasn't. We actually had a vacancy. Because
I'm just saying you have other people that we don't know yet.
have I met everybody?
I met Jonathan today. Have I met everybody?
Okay, so Jonathan Davis is your clerk.
Okay.
Amanda Sink is my executive assistant.
Hi, Amanda.
Abigail in the back here works for our PIO and our public relations team.
Yes, you have. That was like different.
So those.
Okay, well,
And the Prince William Brown breaking.
Listen.
That freezing cold.
No one was. I broke that ground, like got back in my car and got up out of there.
And Madam Chair, I would like to just give a note to Bob Brown. When Bob started, it seemed like a lifetime ago, we started on transaction 2040, which the authority adopted in 2012. And Bob fully embraced in the process, always did what he could to help, shared his knowledge, but was really helpful in that process. So we're gonna miss Bob, gonna miss Sharon. I'll come and bug you. You don't have to worry about coming to me, but thank you, Bob.
I keep saying Bob's gonna miss us. He says he's gonna do stuff, but I think he's gonna be back.
That's all I have.
Thank you. The other thing I have is, last week, Ms. Cinda Boysko joined me and Ms. Backman as we attended the joint meeting of basically all the transportation committees in Northern Virginia. We were joined and I was able to meet, I remember that, for the first time, the new Secretary of Transportation, Sharon Miller. It was a public hearing for transportation items. I do believe everyone who spoke at that public hearing probably spoke on MBTA items, to be quite honest, but it was also just a lot of information that was put out. So it was really, it was a helpful meeting. I did appreciate the information shared by Ms. Backman, who always does such a wonderful job. I appreciated sitting by Ms. Boysko as we both figured out why that room was so ridiculously cold. We paid warmer. But you know, one thing Secretary Miller talked about was smart scale and how he wanted to look at maybe revamping smart scale or looking at if he thought Smart Scale needed any improvements. He did not mention what those improvements might be, or what that might look like, but he did mention that he might want to take a look at Smart Scale. He did not speak on the authority at all, and what he would do different or the same. It for him, I think, was kind of a getting to know the area meeting. He freely admitted he didn't really understand, know the traffic in Northern Virginia. And I told him I understand that. To be fair, he's only been in office for 3 months, so there's still, the administration is still a fairly new administration. So we did appreciate him coming up and having the meeting and talking to all the transportation bodies in the area. And we, I think all of us let him know that he's welcome to come back up, welcome to ask us questions whenever he needed to, and welcome to come to our individual jurisdictions as well. But I do appreciate Ms. Backman, who was on the panel that day, and all the work that MBTA did on that day. I don't think I have any other comments. Did you have any other comments? Did anybody else? All right, for the good of the body, does anyone else have any other comments? Wow. Not bad, and we are adjourned.